Hello and welcome to Stretford. Paddock, today's podcast is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Now more than ever, our internet reliance has been rapidly increasing. We stream our favourite shows, keep in touch with loved ones, and watch podcasts, not to mention, of course, the football. We'd like to think that information is safe, but as our online footprint increases, so does our need for proper internet security. Surfshark is a VPN service that protects your information by encrypting all the data that you send through the internet, keeping anyone unwanted from seeing it. Another great reason to use a VPN service is often when we're trying to stream something from another country, it can be restricted, so you can only view it from that country. However, using Surfshark VPN enables you to view content that is only usually able to watch from different countries, from abroad. So, for example, if you've got a show or a game that you want to watch that is only being streamed in a certain country, using Surfshark VPN, that will allow you to watch that. So that can be channels and services such as Netflix, X or Twitter, Amazon Prime, all those different channels and services that you may only be able to watch in different countries. With Surfshark, you can simply solve that problem by changing your location. Also, if you do go abroad, you're on holiday, you're on the beach, and you still want to tune in to the Premier League or to any other services that you can't get while you're abroad, well, changing your location back to the UK and using your normal streaming service will enable that using Surfshark VPN. Currently, Surfshark has an amazing deal on. By using the link in the description and the promo code Paddock, which is pretty easy to remember, Paddock, you get an extra 4 months free. Surfshark also offers 30-day money-back guarantee. So use the link in the description and the code Paddock and you get 4 months free. And don't forget, you also get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Hello and welcome to Stretford, Paddock. This is the Brew, and a slight change of faces today, right? Stephen Howson, who's normally here, poorly, bless him. He woke up, his watch told him he's not very well, and he went, that sounds about right, I'll have the day off.
Wish I could do that.
He has his little whoop, doesn't he, that he trusts more than his own brain.
Yeah.
If he could just put all of his life into that whoop, he'd do it. And Jay is still making his way back from Portugal, but that doesn't mean we haven't got a fantastic lineup today. Joe Smith, of course, I'll talk to myself first.
Hello.
Alex Bagley's here, how are you?
All right, just all right.
It can't be any better than that. And Webby, of course, makes his return to the Brew.
Afternoon, lads. Different lineup. Let's have a good chat.
Let's have a good time. Yeah. I mean, there's so much to talk about, and I think people might be frustrated by this. I think we're going to have to talk a bit more football than we normally do on the show, because usually it's just any old bollocks. But today, there's so much United chat to have. And new faces, people coming in. I want to talk to you about what's going on at Man United. Get your thoughts in the comments. We'll talk about other stuff as well, don't worry. Yeah. But there's a lot to get into. First of all, Webby, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, feel good.
Right?
Yeah, it's a bit hard at the moment, isn't it, the football side of life. But what a lot of people don't think about just affects your life in total. You know, especially that next morning when you get out of bed and we got beat again and you just slide back in.
I know.
It's hard at the moment. What do we do? Do we stick or twist? You know, I've always backed the manager, you know what I mean? I've seen some rubbish football there when we started going in the 70s. But what do we do? I don't think we've got an identity. I don't know what team's going to turn up every match day. No. You know, I don't know what football I'm going to see. I don't know who's going to play. It's just hard at the moment. Listen, I hope they stick with him. But football, you know, it's Man United. We can't afford to, we'll give him another 3 weeks, we'll give him another month, we'll give him till Christmas. It's hard, you know, we were speaking before, weren't we, lads, about who do we get? You know, I made my point on my channel the other week who I want, but it's not going to happen because I don't think we can act as a club and go and get the man who've turned Aston Villa around and unfortunately play him Sunday. But you know, he's a proper manager. But you know, let's get a bit of luck maybe starting on Sunday and we'll go from there. But there's always seems to be one match which gets him out of trouble and it's relaxed for a couple of weeks. But listen, we're going to a form team there. You know, you looked at me the other night, that ground was bouncing. How it used to be when Villa was a top team in the 80s. Yeah. But it's hard at the moment, but we'll keep there, we'll keep supporting. You know, we always back the manager and the players, but like I said, it's very hard at the moment, lads.
I feel like we've got better people to make that decision now than we have done in the past few years. I feel like when it was coming towards the end of Ollie and even Jose, I felt like I was clinging on to it because I don't think they knew what they wanted to do next. And I do feel like now they've got at least in their head, look, if it's not going right, we've got these list of managers we're going to go after, we've got this to go after. I feel like there's a bit more. If they did sack him, they've thought it out and gone, we have to do this to go and move forward. And they're not going to do something. Look, I thought Ollie, brought some fantastic times, but it was a panic and a look, how good this is, and stick him in there. I feel like there'll be a better decision made. So if that is to keep him, which I hope, like you said, I'm the same. I hope they do. I hope results pick up, because I think he's done a lot of good things for United. But I think if they do sack him, if they do go for it, I feel like they'll have done it because they know they can get the right man or someone they think can make us better, which I feel like is different to how it's been the past 10 years. I felt like it's not been a decision to be made that, would necessarily make us better. I feel like if it did happen, it would do this time.
Yeah, I hope so. It does feel like there's definitely more competent people making the decisions. The Glazers were just, it was like on a spreadsheet, wasn't it? Has he finished fourth? No. Right, he's sacked.
Yep.
Has he finished fourth? Yes. Okay, you keep your job. There's more to football than that. I mean, I want to look at sort of a little bit of what Arteta's done at Arsenal, because that's the most recent team that's gone from in and out of top four to challenging for league titles. And I know they've not won one yet, so he's won one FA Cup in, 6 years or however long he's been there. 5 years, I think, this is his fifth season. But he has made that team from going fifth, fourth, sixth, second, or fifth, fourth and sixth to second, 90 points or 80 points plus. It's hard to do that, and that's the job that United are trying to do. Just some details and some stats on what Arteta went through in his second and third full season. So this isn't like he's just got there and there's a bit of teething issues. In his second full season, they finished 8th, which is where United finished last season. He went through a spell in that season with 1 win in 10 games. Fun enough, that win was against Man United, which of course it was. Like, he couldn't buy a win and he beat us somehow. They only won 4 league games before Christmas. The whole from the start of the season till Christmas, they won 4 times. The notable losses: 3-1 against Liverpool. They lost 3-0 at home to Villa. They lost at home to Burnley. They lost 2-0 to Spurs. Lost 3-0 at home to Liverpool. Lost 1-0 at home to Everton. They got knocked out of the FA Cup by Southampton, and they lost 4-1 to City in the League Cup quarter final. So struggled in all cups and some some hide-ins as well in the league, and finished 8th, which again sort of reminiscent to United last season, except we won the FA Cup. Their third full season under Arteta, they finished 5th eventually, which again, I don't know if that would keep Ten Hag's job. Probably it would at this point. But they lost their first 3 games that season on an aggregate of 9-0, including a 5-0 loss to Man City. This is Arteta's third full season, and they lost 5-0 in the first 3 games to Man City. Again, that season, they also lost 4-0 to Liverpool. They lost 3-2 to United, conceding 3 goals again. Lost 3-0 to Palace, lost 3-0 to Spurs, lost 2-0 to Chelsea. Drew at home to Burnley, which I think they got relegated that season. The only wins against the top 6 that season was a win against Spurs. They beat Chelsea, which I think it might have been Lampard there then. And they beat United as well. And they got knocked out to Forest in the 3rd round of the FA Cup when Forest were in the Championship. And they got knocked out by Liverpool 2-0 in the League Cup semi-final. So, again, a third season there where you're starting to think, surely these results are going to come, and they didn't really. And that's not to say if you stick with the wrong manager in Ten Hag, let's say he's the wrong manager, give him another 10 years, it'll never work out. So you've got to get that right. But if the owners did all this stuff in the summer of, is he right, what do we see, all the stuff behind the scenes that we never get access to as fans, they've seen more of that than us. If they stick with him and they want to stick with him, do you think that it still could turn around? Because a lot of people have completely lost hope now that it ever could. Do you think it still could, Alex?
I think, as I said before, I think there's more competent people to view this and can look at it in a better way and like you said, and I think that's what Arsenal probably changed more than just the manager. I think they got the right people above them to make that decision. I do think, I don't know when it was, but I do think the fans at Arsenal bought into it at some point, even when they were doing badly. I felt like they got on the side of, look, this is the right way of doing it. They got behind him a bit. Look, they were slating him for a lot of it, but there was a point where I think they got behind him, and I don't know when that was, but they felt like the manager convinced the fans this is the right way of doing it. And I think, look, I felt like the Tottenham game after that, I felt like a lot of the fans felt like they'd lost that faith in Ten Hag. That's how it felt to me a little bit, is that even the result, I was talking to you before, Joe, the results earlier on in the season, you kind of went, do you know what, there was a bit about that game that, even the Liverpool games, like, there's a bit, we could score some goals there, there was a bit of good football, we pressed quite well here, made a few mistakes or whatever, but the Tottenham game just felt so flat and just felt like everyone had kind of given up on it a little bit.
Yeah.
And look, you're right, it could turn round, but I don't know, it doesn't feel that way at the minute.
I look at the Brighton game, and obviously if he don't put the ball in on the line, it's a different story. I look at Palace, how we dominated, and it put you on the up, and then obviously you go and looking about, well, we're not scoring goals, but we're dominating games. But that first half against Tottenham was probably one of the worst I've seen. Yeah. Do you know, every department, everything was just so poor. And that's listen, Spurs come to my place with their best player out as well, by the way. You know what I mean? And we could have come out of that ground 5, 6, 7-0, and we couldn't have complained. Yeah. No. You know, they had that many chances. It was just so poor and lacklustre. And the first goal summed it up for me. It just summed up United in that first half. We're letting a bloke run through, and then the winger who scores, he's just virtually ran past our fullback. And when you see it in the net, he's got his hand up. Get round and make it hard for him. Yeah. And I just think now, you know, like you're saying, the fans, we've always backed the manager, you know, under bad times, not just Ten Hag, under Fergie, under Big Ron, and we've never turned against him. And you know, it's just hard at the moment, and he doesn't help himself sometimes. You know, you got to last night's match, and Marcus going off at half time, who'd scored the goal and set one up, and you're saying to yourself, injury, a little bit of a pull or something, you know, don't want to risk him for Sunday's game. Then you found out it's tactical decisions. I just think some of his substitutions, you need a Ouija board to work them out, because I can't work them out.
Do you know what, as well, last night, he should have just lied about that. I know it sounds mental, but
do you know what
if you're going to take Marcus Rashford off at half time, just say he's got a knock.
Do you know, like years ago, the other year when he come on live after the Arsenal game and he told the world about Sancho? Under Fergie that would have happened. Listen, he's got a bit of a pull in training. We didn't want to risk him. He could have maybe been on the bench. We don't, obviously, as fans, imagine the press was dining off that for months. Wanting they fall out, he's not shaking hands, he's not saying sorry. Just come out and say he's got a bit of an injury, then it's gone, then, hasn't it?
That's the thing last night would have been just, look, you might have to rotate him and only pay 45 minutes, but just say, look, he's got a knock. Like, just if you'd have come out with that last night, I think he's got to learn a bit about. I feel like he's not quite got the fact that United is as big as it is, and everything he's saying, every sentence and every cue is getting analysed ridiculous by us and by people or whatever. But little things like that last night when Marcus had a good game, just say he's got a knock, and it just gets squashed. And it's not a talking point today. The talking point is Bruno, and look, Bruno can maybe take it a bit more than Marcus can and things like that at the minute, and you can push it a bit onto him instead, and he can maybe do that. Just he needs to be a bit more clever about it, and I feel like, I don't know, he says it all a lot of the time about the trophies and stuff, and you feel like going, just say something different. You need to change your tune.
We're asking so much, or not even asking so much, but the level that this manager, whoever it is, has to be to get through all of this. It's like you have to be elite with the media, which you do. Fergie was, but he did it his way, which was no questions that aren't right. If you take the piss, you're out. All that stuff. That was the way Fergie dealt with it. But he needs to be, like you said, get it right with the media 90% of the time, and I think Ten Hag's probably about 60% of the time. And he's repeating this line about the trophies a bit too much, and he says things like the rotation. You think, why are you resting players for Sunday when we've drawn the first game in the group stage, we're drawing the second one having dropped a 2-goal lead? How can you then rest someone? I've never seen anyone rest a player like that. Like when you've got a game to win that might cost you your job if you don't. Like that didn't make any sense. So he's got to be brilliant with the media, which Ten Hag isn't quite. Then you've got to be tactically brilliant, of course, because if you want to beat City, you want to beat Arsenal, you want to beat other teams in Europe, you've got to be up there in terms of tactics. Then you're the man management side. You've got to be a sort of hybrid of Brian Clough and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to get the best out of the players when they're disappointed or they're upset, or you've got a Sancho Ronaldo type situation going on. You need to be able to motivate the players at a world-class level, otherwise you're going to get picked apart. Like Ten Hag, he's a little bit cold, he's not got that sort of personal touch that Benny McCarthy and Steve McLaren helped with last season. So you've got to have all of these things to an elite level, otherwise you're fucked. Like, what a hard job. Who can tick all those boxes? Jose couldn't. No. Jose didn't have the man management side, or didn't have maybe the tactical side, and then the media fell apart. Like, Ole had the media stuff to start with, and then felt a bit like a competition winner by the end when all the questions started piling up, and maybe didn't quite have the tactics. But like everyone you go through, you got all these things to balance, and if you're not brilliant at any of them, will find a way to bring you down, and that will be the end of you in the end. It's just so hard, and I'm not saying that Ten Hag is perfect or that he's definitely the right guy, because who knows, and at the minute it doesn't look like he is. But like, what we're asking of this fantasy manager to fix Man United. It's a big job, innit? It's really difficult. Who could do it?
It's the biggest job.
Yeah,
but that's the whole thing. It is the biggest job, and it's one of them. And this is where I get torn on it as well, because you kind of go, is Ten Hag the best man for this? I'm not sure he is, but I do see a lot of the good and a lot of the bad, and the other option of all this. And there's the odds there that we've got on there for who's going to be next.
I've just seen some of them odds.
Frightening.
It's frightening. Tell you what, if Southgate becomes the manager, I'm done. I'm done, absolutely done. It'll break my heart, but I'll be done.
It couldn't happen, surely.
Listen.
The thing is, there was an article in The Independent that linked him with us. There's been murmurings behind the scenes that have sort of linked him with us. In recent weeks, there's not been many sort of top journalists linking him. So I'm hopeful that that's just Ashworth knows him from England. Dave Brailsford's also English. Ratcliffe's also English. Wilcox is English. Maybe they want an English guy. Maybe, I'm hoping that that's all it is. People putting the numbers together in the head. Van Nistelrooy, obviously, just go through some of the odds as it stands, which I sort of hate doing a bit, but we're just speculating, aren't we? Van Nistelrooy obviously favourite. That would be probably a temporary thing or whatever. Thomas Tuchel after that 6-1. Southgate after that 5-2. Then Tuchel 6-1. McKenna 9-1. Potter, Frank, Poch, Zidane, Eddie Howe at 28-1. Look at that list. Can any of them realistically handle Man United? Except maybe Zidane on that kind of sort of stature and put the club on your shoulders level. But he doesn't even speak English, I don't think, does he, Zidane?
Not really.
That's going to be a stumbling block. That'll be tricky in press conferences.
I think this is the thing.
Can any of them do it?
I think, you look at McKenna, and McKenna got linked to the Chelsea job, I think, in the summer. And I think if he'd have gone in there, I think he'd have probably done a really good job. But it's not Man United in that sense. And I think that McKenna, the story around McKenna, if he'd have come in, would have been, we've got rid of this lad once and we've brought him back again, and the media would have eaten him apart. This is the problem with the Man United job, is that, like you said there, that list, you need a Zidane type figure who'll say, I'm the man who can do it, but you also need someone probably as clever and as good as a Potter and McKenna who knows what they're doing with that. I just don't think that person's out there at the minute. There isn't that. The way it was with, in terms of Liverpool had Klopp, and it was dead simple in terms of someone that's won stuff, will get it, will be able to do all the stuff that he wants to do, and it's a dead easy fit. There isn't that kind of manager out there at the minute, and I think that anyone you bring in, even if you keep in Ten Hag, is a risk at the minute, because there's so many negatives to all of them that I just don't think it. I don't know. It'd be a nightmare either way. It is.
We've got a few super chats. Hale says, Arteta's third full season, he came second, Joe, not fifth. We need to stop deluding ourselves. Apologies. He started in December, finished fifth that season. So he had 6 months at the job, finished fifth. Then he finished eighth. Then he finished eighth. So it was his second full season, but he'd had 2.5 years there by the time they finished eighth. Ten Hag hasn't had 2.5 years at United yet. So apologies for getting that slightly wrong there, but it wasn't as though he didn't finish eighth twice and fifth before he finished second. That still happened. He just didn't quite have the full first season that I sort of suggested they did. So apologies, and you're right. Elle says, out of curiosity, what do you think would happen if Fergie were to inherit the current squad from now until the end of the season? A 45-year-old Fergie, presumably not.
I think even if it was a 7-year-old Fergie, I think he gets a really good number 2 in, and just he takes the pressure off it in the media. I think that's what I think for the last 10 years of Fergie, that's what he kind of did. They had all these great coaches in, and he just dealt with all the stuff that Ten Hag's not dealing very well with in the media.
Fergie was never on the training pitch, was he? Kiddo and Mullenstein were down there. Fergie would stay in his office and he'd run the rule. I just think sometimes players as well, I think the club's just too big for them, and that's no disrespect to Ajax. Massive club, but it's not Man United. No. It's different how they probably work over there with the press. I just think that some of the signings he's made has not helped. You know what I mean? When you were in rumours you could have got Anthony for 20-30 million, then a few months later we're paying 80 odd. It's not the players' fault, it's the club's fault. I just think that we're paying now for the mistakes we've had over the years. These people are long gone now, and rightly so. They was coming to United, they was stealing a living. The likes of Woodward and all that didn't have a Scooby-Doo about what was going on. I'll always remember once, I might have said it before on here, not a big rugby fan, but I think the lines on torn, it was 1-1 who they were playing. I get sort of the transfer windows on, and there's Woodward in the crowd with a scarf. He should be signing players. You see the one when he's in America and going back to do business, and we ended up with Fellaini with about 2 minutes to go. You know, and we're paying for it now, you know, and like you're saying, Ten Hag's not helping himself. Keep these things hush like Fergie did.
Yeah.
Keep them hush. Don't let it, you know, it's great as a fan. We want to know that Sancho's being a clown in training, but keep it away from us, keep it away from the press. And like you're saying, that's on the Saturday, it's fish and chips on the Monday, wrapping up in them. We won't hear anything about it, so he's not helped himself, you know, and to be honest, could we go to a worse opponent on Sunday when he's fighting to save his job? Now, stranger thing happens at football, but if we're not on our mark Sunday, I think it could be the end for him.
Just on, you said right at the start about we can't, you know, every few weeks we sort of reassess it and we can't keep going on like this, which I agree with, and that does tend to happen. What do you think would happen, right, if the owners came out and said he's getting till the end of this season no matter what? Like, in terms of on the pitch, could we get relegated? We couldn't be bad enough to get relegated, presumably. I don't think that's possible. Like, what is the worst case scenario this season if they just said, forget all of this sacking nonsense, we're going to give him this season like we said we would. He won the league, the FA Cup last season. He won the League Cup before that. He gets this year, and we're waiting, and we're going to decide after that. But until then, there'll be no more questions about his future. What do you think is the worst that happens on the pitch?
I think you could finish mid-table. I don't see, you know,
like Chelsea kind of 12th, 11th, 10th kind of area.
There's no reason why it wouldn't happen. You know, there's a lot of really good teams and know what they're doing and have. You know, we've talked about how Villa have had things in place. Eddie Howe's been there a long time, and Newcastle, you know, seem well run, and they're always going to pick up points. You look at Spurs this season, Chelsea this season. You know, United. Someone, I think a few people have said United could get better this year and not move forward. Could finish 8th again and be a better football team than they were 12 months ago. So there's no reason why United couldn't finish 10th, 11th, 12th, especially, you know, even, and sacking the manager doesn't mean that wouldn't happen either, you know. We see what happened with Rangnick came in. If you get that one wrong as well, it can go like that.
If you look at it though, years ago, you could pick the top 4 from the same people. Now you can't. No. You know, the likes of Villa, the likes of Tottenham have got bigger and stronger. You know, Chelsea was always going to come back after last year. Newcastle, you know, so like you're saying, we could play better football and finish 9th. You know, that's what it's like. I honestly thought this season, I was happy with the signings, what they made, and you know, I wasn't being delusional that I was going to fight for the title, never in a million years. But I always thought it was still going to be difficult to break into that top 4 this year. You know, the cup final there. You know, let's have it right. Most United fans going down there thought, listen, this is going to be so hard, and it was a great performance. You know what I mean? Against, you know, probably the best team, and it hurts me saying, in Europe or the world, and we've done a job on him. It wasn't a lucky 2-1 win; it was a job. You know, and then you step into the season, that first day of the season, with a spring in your step, thinking it's here looking forward to it for once, instead of thinking, well, listen, the season's here now. What are we going to get again? You know, and then you look at that Fulham. No, I said the other day, you know, if you look at the Fulham game, if they had anything about them, we could have got beat. You know, there's a few one-on-ones where they messed up. You look at the Palace game, you know.
And Arna makes some saves, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then you look at the Southampton game. If they scored that penalty early doors, we could be sat here on 0 points. You know what I mean? So I just want that fear factor back, you know, letting teams come to Old Trafford and realise they're in the game.
I do think that maybe now that you've got these more football people ahead of Ten Hag, that if they have made that decision, I do think that maybe they need to be a bit more front facing to the media.
I agree.
I think that this isn't Ed Woodward anymore. I don't think he gets slated. You know, he would get slated for doing it, and rightly so. But I do think if Dan Ashworth came out and said, look, this is going to be this and we're going to go ahead. But the reason I don't think they are going to do that is because I don't think they're sure either. Because
no, they're not.
I think that for as much as us saying, you know, it'd be great to give him time and give him the season, because I think that it was the plan. If United keep losing football matches and lose them the way they did, you know, against Spurs, and if it is a bad result this weekend, you have to make a decision. And it gets to a point where even if the right things are happening in training, the PR aspects of it and how the players are feeling, and how the fans are feeling, you've just got to make a decision, and you have to change something, and that'll have to be the manager. So I don't think they will do. I don't think they will come out and say they're going to give him to the end of the season, because I don't think they can guarantee it at the minute.
No, it's tough, isn't it? I know this might just sound ridiculous, but for the sake of genuinely properly giving a manager a go. I know that we've given him a go. He's had 2 years, but he's won two trophies in those 2 years. So it's not like they've been he's been absolutely shit for 2 years. And the first season we finished third and played some really good stuff, and we're the third best team in England. It wasn't lucky. We deserved that. We were the third best team that season. The second season, the league was awful, but we won the FA Cup and beat Liverpool and City along the way. That gets you some more time. I think for the sake of has anyone had 3 full seasons yet at United? Solskjaer got 2.5. Jose got 2 and a bit. Louis got 1 and 2.
2.
Moyes didn't even get 1. No one's had 3 full seasons. A part of me just thinks, let's actually finding out can he turn this around. Let's actually give him 3 years. And if he can't, then no one, and myself included, will sit here and go, give him another one. If we finish 14th or 12th this season, obviously everyone agrees it's done. But I just sort of think, like, for me, the difference between finishing 6th and 9th isn't that massive that I'm not willing to give it a go for 1 year, like, because it might be 4th, we might finish 5th, we might get 5th and win the Europa League this season with much better football and some positive signs, and then actually, yeah, this we're going somewhere, or 4th or whatever could happen. You know, I just think, like, I just want them to give someone a proper go, not just 2 years and then if it's not there we're fucked, because they've just said they want to win the league in 2028. That's 4 years away. Where do you expect us to be when we're 4 years away from a title? I don't even know. I mean, maybe I'm just an idiot and I'm just giving him too much time, but I just think...
Years ago when Jose completed the jigsaw in Stockholm, then we give him another year's contract, but we didn't back him. And then didn't he play McTominay at centre half at West Ham and was making noises, you know. And I just think that, listen, we'd all love to be another Fergie there for years and years and build a dynasty and build a club. But I think nowadays you can't, you know. Who's the next longest manager, you know, after, is it...
in the league or for United?
In the league. Who's the longest?
I think it's Pep, innit?
Pep,
so there you go, and he'll be gone soon.
Yeah.
He'll be gone soon. So those days are gone. But I just think that, you know, you look over the summer when Ten Hag comes out, well, if they don't want me, I'll go and win trophies elsewhere. So this Ineos says, come out and make a statement. Like you said, is either staying or they make the statement like, listen, for the best of reasons, we're going to part company. But they've got to stand up and say, back him, but not be quiet, you know what I mean? Come out and quell all these rumours and say, listen, we'll give him till Christmas, we'll give him to the end of the season, you know, but they're just saying nothing.
No, I agree. And I think what you said there is that I kind of agree with just kind of let it play out, especially with how you mentioned there with Arteta and even now Chelsea have kind of let things play out and stuff. But United are just a different level in terms of the scrutiny and stuff. And I think that, you know, you look at kind of the results, you know, from last weekend and stuff. City drew with Newcastle. If United drew with Newcastle in 2 weeks' time, it would be kicking off, and everyone went, "Oh, it's a good point for City." That, you know, they played all right, and you know what we mentioned before. You know, we've recorded the preview and stuff about Ipswich Villa. Ipswich scored in the last minute to draw with Villa. If that happened to United, that would be everywhere. And the problem with United is that you can't have these small issues, and you can't just let it coast. You won't let a season coast, because as it does, it will just get bigger and bigger and bigger in terms of the scrutiny of it. And I think that's the difference in these clubs. Arsenal were allowed to finish 8th twice because they're not the level of United.
Chelsea got a bit of banter online, but genuinely, there was a point where Frank Lampard had the worst form in the league over like a 20-game spell, and he got sacked eventually, but they've been sort of up and down out of the top 10, and it's been news, but it's not all over the front page. Like with United, they'd end up, like, it's a good point that they would, and maybe it's just impossible to do what I suggested about just sort of give him this season, because if we're 10th at Christmas, it's like, it's not just stories of like how bad United are on the pitch. There's stories about how Rashford and Ten Hag have had a physical fight. There's stories about how everyone's kicking off behind the scenes and this person's posting on Instagram. It'll be like, they'd make such a big story of it. Like I said, it's only going to swirl and get bigger, so maybe that's just not an option. We spoke before about them being quiet, and that has been sort of changed in this afternoon by Jim Ratcliffe, who's done an interview with the BBC and spoken about many things, but one of them was Manchester United. So talking about whether he has faith in Ten Hag, Jim Ratcliffe said, "I don't want to answer that question. I like Eric. I think he's a very good coach, but at the end of the day, it's not my call. It's the management team that's running Manchester United that have to decide how we best run the team in many different respects." But that team that's running Manchester United has only been together since June or July. They weren't there in January, February, March or April. Omar, Dan Ashworth, they only arrived in July. They've only been here, you can count it in weeks almost. They've not been here a long time, so they need to take stock and make some sensible decisions. Our objective is very clear. We want to take Manchester United to where it should be, and it's not there yet, obviously. That's very clear. Bit of a, it's not my choice statement, but what do you make of that?
At least he spoke, hasn't he? You know what I mean? And obviously he's pushing it to other people, the football side. And like you said, we've got the right people involved now. When you look at the structure of the club now, it looks like a proper football club, but we can't afford to. Each week and each month we're getting further and further away from these top teams, you know what I mean? You look at that Liverpool game and the best team won, and we did have a few chances, but when you think we're getting close to him, it's another kick in the teeth. We back down and we've got no right to finish in the top 4, but we should be challenging. We should be up there challenging, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking for years it was us and Arsenal, then it was us and Chelsea, and we're not even in the equation now. You know what I mean? And even like after the cup final, all these pundits must have thought, listen, he gets the right players in over the summer, these can give it a right go. And and like we've just said, we've been playing some decent football but not finishing games off. But you can't afford to in this league. Everyone can beat everyone, so when you get these chances against the likes of Palace, who had not won a game up to playing us, we've got to put these to bed. We had enough chances to win 3 games at Selhurst Park that day, but we never. And we got the point, but we was lucky to get that in the end because they had a few chances. I just think that, a day's a long time in football. If we get beat at Villa, then we got an international break. Will he twist or will he stick? It's down to them. I know what Jim just said there. They've only been there a few months, so you can count on the weeks they've been there. But they've got an active. It's not going right, But let's see what happens. Hopefully, we win at Villa. And then the pressure's off. We all want to win at Villa, but we've got to be real and think we're going to a top team there. You know what I mean? For years ago, we used to set Villa as granted that at Villa Park, we'd win every game. We've not won there for years now, I don't think. So, I don't know. It's an hard one. But at least Jim said something, but push the book.
Yeah. I'm hoping, again, like I said there, hopefully he's win this weekend, because I think that this international break could come at a good time where you maybe get the odd player back, maybe get a left back fit. That'd be ideal. Not that can't rely on too much, but it could come at a good time if you get a good result. But if you lose this game at the weekend, you're then going into an international break, and it will be 2 weeks of will he stay, will he go, why is he still here, all this kind of stuff. And it's an important one because, like I said, even if they're dead calm in there and all that, and they're happy with, we're progressing in this kind of way of training and all this, the media's going to be going all at us if we get beat this weekend. And you have to get a result, and I don't see it, to be honest, at the minute, but you never know. You do never know. We've got a super chat. Joshua Bowater said, I still think he's a good manager in a bad run, plus there are new coaches and new players that should be allowed to integrate before hitting restart. It's just we're at that time again, aren't we? It's that special time at United where you get called a fool for saying we should keep him and a dickhead for saying we should get rid of him. There's no right answers at the minute, and that's the thing. The board, and hopefully they have got more football experience in terms of working in football than any of us have. So hopefully you've got people in charge now who are making a better version of the decision that we've seen over the last few years. But it's just that we're just in that time where you could conceivably sack him, you could conceivably stick with him, and whatever you pick, someone's going to slag you off and have a go at you for it. So keep your head straight, and whatever you think, stick with it. Mark Langridge says, I don't really get why fans think that a manager comes in and clicks his fingers. Everything's frozen. There you go. Comes in and clicks his fingers and they get a new style of play. Believe it or not every player can keep the ball. Some are head down and run. It also takes time to install it, or weeks to install it. There's all sorts in there. History shows that you can't completely turn a team overnight. But then the other side of it is...
I look at Chelsea at the moment, the mess they was in last year, and the football they're playing this year. I know they've spent all this money and they've got 109 players or something, but they're playing football, aren't they? And the kid's only been there, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
He's got out what he wanted out, told them straight, listen, you're not in my plans. And he's playing football, and they was always going to come back. So that's another team you're fighting for to get in the top 4. You know, and I can understand what the lad's saying about it's not done overnight, but you know, how long do we give him? You know, it's
I don't know.
You know, it's
That's
hard.
the question, isn't it, that we're all in
I do
now.
agree with it in the sense as well. Players should be given a bit of time to get into it, and they should be. But at the same time, it's Man United, so you're not going to get that time. So you need to hit the ground running. I think that the one thing that I'm hoping they do now is, and I feel like they did this summer, is they raised the floor of the squad a bit in terms of at least they've got some backup in different areas. You know, at least we're having a debate of do we start Højlund or Xerxes, where last season it was do we start Højlund or no one. At least we have a bit of that now. Whereas, and I think that's where Chelsea have got it right in the sense of they have signed a lot of players, but they've got 8 forwards that can play now. Whereas United, and a lot of them in the 22, 23 bracket, talking before, you know, I've seen people saying you need to give Marcus a break or whatever. The answer to that is a child in Garnacho who hasn't had the best season as well. Same thing with, this Xerxes doesn't look right. The answer is Højlund, who's just had a hamstring injury and doesn't quite look, he's only 21. On the right hand side, you've got Anthony, where people have slated him, which is rightly so because he's not been good enough. But your other option to him is Ahmad, who is a kid at the end of the day as well. And I think that, you know, you need a bit more of a squad to it. Same with Ugarte coming in. The choice is Ugarte or 2 lads that should have been sold in the summer. So this is where we're not in the position that Chelsea are, where they can go, look, here's Caicedo, or the other option is Enzo Fernandez, or the other option is this other few players who've signed. They've signed eight a few players per position, whereas United seem to sign, it seems to be the case for United, and it always happens in the media, we sign one player and he's going to start and he's going to play 75 games. Whereas we need to sign a squad and that takes time. But we've mentioned all along, Man United we're not going to get that time. It's going to be under a microscope and it's going to be chaos if we don't get the results right.
Another thing as well, just looking at the full picture, we always have this thing where if you're underperforming, you're being compared to the new managers that have come in, and we got compared to Angelotti last season, the change in football at Tottenham. You mentioned there about Maresca as well at Chelsea, who's done a good job so far, undoubtedly. But when you actually look at a lot of the managers we compared with, and I think Glasner at Palace was one when they beat us last season, it's look how much he's turned them around already. Overnight, he's turned them around. How many of these teams have actual sustained success at that level? Villa's one with Emery, great, he's a fantastic manager, I'm not knocking him. But other than that, it's up. They come in and they have a good season like we did. Let's not forget when Ten Hag got here, we finished 3rd and won the League Cup. And then it's up and down and they usually get sacked. It happens all the time with a new manager coming and doing something different and pushing a team up for a few years, or Brendan Rodgers at Leicester and then 2 years later he's gone, or I don't know how long Ange will be here for, but Tottenham have done it with numerous managers that look good under Conte for a while and he's gone a year later. Actually coming in, turning a team around quickly and sustaining top level stuff or a sustained jump in performance year after year after year, it very rarely happens. Like Arteta challenging for the title 2 years in a row, that's a pretty good sign of it. Klopp did it at Liverpool, Pep did it at City, but they were already winning titles. That it is hard to take a team that finishes 4th, 5th, 6th and turn them into title challenges year in, year out. You can have a good 6 months, like Chelsea are doing or Tottenham did last season or whatever. But it is actually really hard to go from not that good to really good and stay there. So we're asking whoever it is to do a big job here.
I do think as well, I think all them managers that got mentioned got signed because they fit the squad that was available. They got signed because they could play football with the squad they got. Ten Hag got brought in to change everything.
Yeah.
Because we got told we weren't quick enough, we were playing too deep, we weren't pressing, we were doing all this. We had to change the entire squad. Essentially, because that was what they kind of said. Even Ragnick came out and said it. We need to get rid of 10 or whatever it is to bring him in, and people have argued that he has done that. That he's got his players now. But I do think that Postecoglou came in because they went, look, this lot can run and can play good football. Let's not have a manager that sits back and defends on his own box. Let's get a manager that comes in and does that. I think if United were going to turn things around quickly, if they brought Conte in after Ollie, I think you'd have got a result quickly. It could have gone up in flames very, very quickly after that. But they asked him to change things. They didn't ask him to continue on what the other manager was doing, which all these other managers, Emery's style compared to Arteta's isn't a massive difference. He still had a lot of good footballers in that squad to kind of mould and play. But look, again, it's different. I say it all the time. It's Man United. If you're not doing it quickly, it's not going to happen. And I do think that, look, it's whether it's ran its course or not, I don't know. But this weekend is needed to happen. Need a good result, because I can't have 2 weeks of them talking about England and talking about United.
Yeah, God. We've got a few more super chats as well. Mark Langridge says, I don't really know why. I think I've read that one already. Nicholas Walker says, unfortunately, I could see Southgate coming. He's used to the big media packs with England. He will say the right things and take the heat. Yeah, maybe, but come on, that's not enough, is it? If we do go under a new manager, it's a new manager bounce and honeymoon period. So far, that seems to be the case, doesn't it? Nish said, winning football games is a far-right agenda. I don't even know what that means. Lump says, United is a horrible club to try and rebuild back to the top. We might need this time to develop, but we're not giving it. The media wants sackings, so they get in everyone's heads. That's kind of been the topic of the show, and how difficult it is for United specifically to do what we're trying to do at the minute, which makes it all the more exciting that one day it might happen. And another super chat as well from Abhinav Verma says, Villa have spent 700 million in 4 years, which is crazy, by the way, how much money they've spent. But either way, we've spent similar amounts and Villa are doing better than us. It is the Brew after all. We should probably have a bit more of a chilled out non-football chat. You're going to Villa Park this weekend.
I am,
Are you excited? Any
Can't wait.
Memories of Villa Park? Any fun stories?
Yeah, obviously 1999, the FA Cup semi-final replay on my birthday.
Really?
Yeah, on my birthday, 14th of April.
What a day that is.
What a day. But the best one I ever had there was the FA Cup third round. It was on a Sunday night live on BBC, 7 o'clock kickoff. We were 2-0 down. And Rude come on, and it was absolute carnos. I was on the pitch, everything. And my mate had a picture, I don't know where he got it from, was when we put the third in, it was a proper invasion, you know. Watch it on YouTube there. I think there's got to be at least nearly 1,000 Reds on the pitch. I think we had something like 10, 11, 12,000 that day.
Really?
Yeah.
It was carnos. And I've run on a pitch, and obviously Schmeichel's there, and he's looked at me, because obviously remember from United, and he's just given me that second look there. Obviously, my mate actually got a picture of me like dancing in the 6-yard box when Rude put the winner in. But that was a great
Schmeichel playing for Villa.
Playing for Villa. Yeah, it was 2-0 down. I think Phil Neville scored an own goal, and then Rude got 2. Ollie come on, got 1, and Rude got 2. It was absolute carnos. Sunday night, 7 o'clock. The Reds have been boozing all day. You can imagine.
All weekend.
All weekend. But we've had some great days there, haven't we? You know, semi-finals, we can go on and go on. But obviously that one where we'd beat Arsenal 2-1 on the long to the treble. We'd been on my birthday and running on the pitch.
How old were you? Do you know? You don't have to reveal that if you don't want to.
I was about
17.
Yeah, about that. Yeah,
that was
cracking night. I love Villa Park.
Yeah.
You know, like saying we've had some great victories there.
It's been 2003-4. Rude, 2003, 2004.
2002. But if you watch it there, they go to. I don't know who scores their first goal, but I think Roy Caddle's in the net. So the second goal was a right mess up.
Well, that was that time when we just changed keeper every few years and had no idea what was going on.
2002, you got it spot on. Ian Taylor scored, Phil Neville own goal. And then Solskjaer scored the first, and then Rude got 2 in 2 minutes. That's what it was. Carnos. From the 70s. United were 2-0 down in the 77th minute, and by the 82nd we were 3-2 up. That is.
It was a day.
That is proper.
I went with a few kids from Salford. I won't tell you what happened, but no, it was a great. 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. You couldn't have asked for anything more. And like saying United, and that night was unreal. Yeah. And if you watch it now, when that second goal comes in as an invasion, but when that third one goes in, everyone's just on it. Rude, we're all in the corner. Brilliant. We're on the pitch. That proper FA Cup, proper comeback, that proper day.
Here we go. I can't show any of the footage, but I can show a quick sort of screenshot. 1 second of look at this is Van Nistelrooy and Scholes. Just in everyone as everyone's piling on.
Yeah,
that was fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Tony Gubber's a commentator. He's going absolutely mental. He's going absolutely mental.
Where are you watching the game this weekend? Any fun plans?
No, probably watch it at home behind my couch. I think probably because it's one of them. It's that 2 o'clock kick off, something like that. So it's a bit of an awkward one, but I can't bear going out for it. I just, it's one of them.
The good thing about you, if you watch it at home, you can be in bed within 5 minutes, can't you? Straight the apple, straight into bed.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's an awkward one, isn't it? Because it's been, I don't know, it's just an odd one at the minute, because there's that thing of, again, it was kind of the cup final last year was dreading it all the time, but it's that what if in it at the minute, the same thing, because that cup final was quality, and it'll be the same thing on Sunday. If it's that what if they do get the result, it'll lift everything and be massive and things like that. And it's the same. Look, lads travelled to Porto. I saw all the stuff yesterday with people not getting to Porto, which I think was really poor from the club. Well, it was the club. I think they've tried to deal with it, but the airlines and stuff. But people are still trying to go to these things, and a lot of them are going for a good bit of crack. And the what if we do get that good result and that good performance and raise everything a little bit.
It's mad, isn't it? You realise how ingrained it is. When you think of the last 10 years, I know obviously compared to most teams that aren't City or Liverpool, we've won more than most teams in the last 10 years. So it could have been a lot worse. I know it's felt terrible, but most teams haven't won 5 or 6 trophies in the last 10 years like we have. So fair enough, temper it a little bit. But it never crosses your mind that you don't watch, or that you support someone else, or that you ignore it, or that you're not going to be bothered. It's just in you, innit? No matter how bad it gets, I can't not care. And somehow, every single game rolls around. We've been terrible against Tottenham, terrible against Porto. We've won 2 games all season, and I cannot wait for Sunday. What's that? What is that? I'm so excited. I just think it might happen. This might be the moment. Yeah. You find yourself just being, oh, United, right, come on, we'll do this. Yeah. It's so bizarre, isn't it, that no matter how much you hurt,
you can guarantee one bet that the United and they'll be loud and proud as normal.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it'll come for a great atmosphere, because like we said before, I did watch them against Bayern Munich, and I had to turn the telly down. The noise they were making, and they're up for it. They're rightly so. Villa are a big club in the doldrums for years, getting relegated, coming up, having bad managers there. You know what I'm saying? Villa Park's an historic ground in football. Yeah. It's been good for United over the years, especially in FA Cup semi-finals. So I am looking forward to it. But let's see what happens. We've got to turn up. If we don't, then there we go again.
That might be the end of it. Right, lads, it's been great. Lovely chat.
We finished already.
Yeah, we've done 47 minutes in. It's flown by. It's been brilliant. Cheers, lads. Sorry again, no Steve or Jay today, but I feel like I've had a great chat. I've enjoyed that. Hopefully, when next time you're both on, Ten Hag's still the manager and United are top
fingers
of the league.
Crossed.
Top of the league. That's
top of the
league.
A
big ask.
It's
a very big ask. Europa League.
Yeah,
table.
Top of the Europa League.
Say that.
Bloody hell, I think we're 21st in that. We're even worse than we're in the Premier League. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Make sure you check out Webby on Webby and O'Neill and Alex, wherever you may pop up these days.
Yeah.
See you in a bit.